Yep.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the DLC episode of SideQuest Podcast. My guests, Ches Hall, Kenneth Rotter. We're going to nerd out on Westworld, because holy fuck, I've needed to talk about this show for months, and I've had no one to talk to about it, except for my wife. And she's like, I don't, okay, Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey, I don't understand all this other stuff either that you're talking about. It was a cool show, and I really like it, but all right, stop nerding out. So, can we just talk about how fucking awesome this show is? Like, yeah. the pace of the writing and just the turns that like the entire season took, did not expect half the things that happened.
Yeah, they did a really fantastic job of, always keeping people on their toes and, always kind of teasing you with thinking things are one way and flipping it around. I thought it was a really well put together show.
Ken, I know you've done a few episodes on it as well.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm digesting it. I'm trying to remember because I obviously haven't watched it since it aired. But I loved the special effects, the sets, all the technical aspects, and the acting was really good. But the overall story, I was like, okay. And maybe I'll feel better about season 2, but I just didn't feel like I got a conclusion after season 1, mostly because it's a ongoing story that I think it's not 2 separate seasons. It's one story split into 2 parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's. You think season 2 is it? Like it's just supposed to be like a 2-season sort of thing?
Well, or if it's or if there's a 3rd season, I don't think there's going to be a set conclusion after each season. Lord of the Rings, for example, there's no conclusion at the end of Fellowship, and there's no conclusion after Two Towers because they are 2 parts of a 3-part whole.
Right.
In my humble opinion. I didn't get a sense of closure from season 1 of Westworld. I thought it was all setting up for a bigger season 2.
Which is, I mean, in all honesty, is sort of fine. And I think that, like, Game of Thrones even suffers from that, the first season. Like, it's... I kind of thought reading the book that, like, this was going to be, one. I didn't expect. I mean, I knew there were other books, but it almost read like there was going to be like, okay, like he's not going to die. Like something's going to happen. They're gonna. Oh no, they're going to kill him. All right, there's going to be sequels. There's going to be a lot. I think what I enjoyed most about Westworld is the sort of psychological things because there's a lot of talk. The sort of, are we living in a virtual reality world already? All of that stuff is sort of coming up. But the symbolism of the show is what really drew me in. It's cool to be like, oh, I can go to this park and I can just, like, have sex with a human robot. Which, by the way, is also sort of those things where it's like, wait a minute, hold on. People go to this park because they can just shoot anything they want. They can live how they want. They can fuck anything they want. But they know it's all robots. So you're fucking a robot. Like, it's not like there has to be something when you go out to the real world and you're like, I'm fucking a human being. Sex with a robot is so much better. Wait a minute, what does that say about me?
Well, real quick, I think what Westworld did, and if you were in the lives of the people in Westworld, is there was no Uncanny Valley effect. Yeah. Do you guys know the Uncanny Valley?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, say that, Robbie. I'm sorry.
It's like, go ahead and explain for someone who may not know it. In case.
It's like if you're playing a video game or you're doing some VR, and it looks so real, but just a slightly bit off, that your brain essentially freaks out. The new, I want to say, Resident Evil VR game was having a lot of this is that everything looked so real that people were freaking out, but the way zombies and the creatures moved was so unintuitive for humans that it would take people out of the simulation, out of the experience. Whereas Westworld, like, I don't think they suffered from that because the robots were so advanced that your brain at some point convinces yourself that this is not a robot.
Right. Which would go ahead, Chaz.
Well, it's kind of interesting that it doesn't actually take a whole lot for people to create like emotional attachments to something. Like if, like even just like a slight, like giving a toy life or giving it a voice, very quickly changes it to something that people will start treating differently than you would normally treat an inanimate object. So, it takes a lot less advanced technology and advanced, realism or, faking realism. It doesn't take as much as you would think to create something that a person could potentially, get very emotionally invested in. Especially to the point in Westworld where you really cannot tell the difference, probably without some kind of training or some kind of specific technique. That kind of connection could definitely be created.
Yeah.
So
and go ahead, Ken.
Oh, I just had a bit of a question because this is actually the second time I've been on a podcast where we've mentioned this about life being a computer simulation.
Right.
Real quick philosophical question. Does it matter?
I mean, in a sense, here's the thing about that is that, like, that is a question that will either, in the words of Dr. Jordan Peterson, send you raging towards nihilism or, like, send you raging towards, like, oppressive order. Like, trying to find, like, because if we're all going to die, like, that would be the same question. Like, we all die. Like, what's the point of living? Like, then if you have no point in living, you don't really care what you do to other people because it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So, like, I think in that instance, like, if we are in a simulation, if we are like some advanced systems weird VR experience, one, I want to know why their VR experience is not like Ready Player One, because that advanced civilization fucking is stupid, because that's what they should have given us. Like, I mean, I think that's a question for just life in general. So even if it is even if I don't, good question, good philosophical question. I like it. I would say no.
See, in there's, based on your response right there, I want to encourage you to pick up a copy of the book "Don't Be a Jerk" by Brad Warner.
Okay.
And he essentially says that if you're in a world completely of jerks where everything everybody does is a jerk thing, there is still virtue in you choosing to do a not jerk thing.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I agree. Like,
yeah.
there's like, obviously there are your values and what they yes. I did not mean for DLC to turn into philosophy.
By the way, I apologize for completely derailing Westworld.
But but there is a good point on that, because I think that's one of the things that, like, why Westworld is sort of big right now, because, like, there is a lot of talk on that sort of thing, and you can sort of talk about, like, they created these robots, and even if you play Assassin's Creed, if anyone is like, if you know the story of Assassin's Creed is basically like, there was this group of really powerful beings, and then they created humans, and they rebelled, and Adam and Eve, like, took the apple, which was one of their, like, things of power, and they escaped, and like all these artifacts that you're looking for are these powerful things from this ancient time period that the Templars are trying to get, to sort of bring them back or whatever. You find out all this history, and like the people in that society had names like Mithra or whatever. Like they had names of ancient Greek. So it's almost like Assassin's Creed is saying our history is telling that story from the point of the humans who used to be their slaves and rebelled, and which is almost the same in Westworld, except that Anthony Hopkins' character is like, I'm going to program my robots to kill everyone on the board because they're trying to take over my park, and I don't want that.
It's a good thing you were talking about, Kenny, because one of the central themes of Westworld is it forces the audience to answer the question for themselves, like, okay, well, what would you do in a scenario where there are no consequences? And it kind of forces you to, think about, well, what if Westworld was a place that I could pay to and go to? And, even more than that, it kind of draws the lines to, what do you do now with your life, like in the virtual worlds we inhabit now, whether it's online and social media or video games, like what choices are you making and what kind of person are you there, and does that extrapolate to kind of the rest of your life, or what would happen if Westworld was an option for you?
Oh, dude, I wholeheartedly know that, like, when I finally get Mass Effect Andromeda, I may or may not be able to get it due to my new adventure that's coming up. I won't mention it here. I'll talk about it later. But like, I'm gonna play it as a renegade. I'm not playing it as good first. Like, if the Star Wars RPG game comes out, you better damn well bet I'm playing as dark as I can. It's just more fun. It's more, and I think that's like, I know for myself, if Westworld was a real place and I could get away with anything, like just like Grand Theft Auto, how many times did we all test the limits of that game to be like, well, how much can I get away with? I can put a code in and get a tank. I can put a code in and get like rocket launcher. Like, what can I do? So yeah, I think it says a lot about who we are as human beings, that like there's that dark side inside of all of us. And would you go to the storyline where you help people, or would you go to the storyline for riches and fame, or would you literally just show up and get drunk and just fuck as hard as long as you could in a brothel? Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, I've always been the guy who likes a challenge, so I'd probably go help people in hopes that then they would sleep with me.
The hero's got to get some spoils, right? He's got to get some spoils.
That's a tradition of Mass Effect and most movies.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I really did enjoy about Westworld, is that, like, it made you think about that, and you're like, oh, what does it say about me?
Oh yeah, that's a really interesting thing too, because with I think it's Dolores, one of the main characters, kind of her role at the beginning. What do they call it? Her routine or whatever. That every day she wakes up and then she becomes the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
That kind of also kind of challenges the way that we basically challenges the whole like damsel in distress thing, that in these movies and stuff, basically we depict this person as like they're a victim, like that is their role for the movie, and we kind of just accept that, and I don't know, we don't really think about like that person as a person. We just think of that person as a character in a role, and that's like their box. Right. And and the movie in Westworld kind of challenges that and shows how kind of the other side of what it's like to be on the other end. I don't know. I just find that really fascinating.
I I like that, and I like that you brought up Dolores, because the big thing, and we're coming to 15 minutes here, so I'll wrap up in just a couple. The big thing that I really loved about Westworld was all the symbolism, that the Vitruvian Man was very, very prominent. I mean, it's basically the logo of the show. And the whole thing with Dolores is that she had to find the maze. She had to get to the maze. She had to get to the maze. And the maze is literally just a circle surrounding the Vitruvian Man, going to the inside, into the heart of the man, which I think is a very symbolic way for the show to say that, like, the answer of who you are and what who you truly are is inside. Like, your power is inside. Like, to find and to understand your place in this world and what you can do, you have to go inside. Which, again, goes back to Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, and that the treasure that you seek the most is in the cave that you fear, and that you have to battle your dragon inside of yourself to become, your highest level and the hero. So that was sort of what I got from the show. A lot of Campbellian sort of stuff, and the Vitruvian Man, just a lot of the symbols, and the psychological stuff too. Like with just a really, 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 really awesome show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I loved it as much as Robbie, but I do think I loved it enough that I will be watching season 2.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely going to watch season 2, and it is a show where I'm like, I really don't want you to go past a whole other thing. Like, I don't want it to become a thing where, like, the robots come out in the world. Like, maybe that's what they do, but I just, like, I want it to sort of be a short-lived series. Like, I know HBO is kind of like, all right, what's our next Game of Thrones? We got to find something, because, like, we're wrapping that up. Like, what do we do next? And they're trying to find that. I'll tell you what the next thing is. The next thing is The Name of the Wind. So just go ahead and get that up. Let's just do that. And then when you cast it, I will be playing Koth. So, and if you haven't read that book, you should go read that book, because it's fucking amazing.
What was it? The Name of the Wind?
The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It's just the first 3 sentences in that book got my dick so hard that, like, I basically just read the entire book erect the entire time. Like, it was that good. It was like just immediately like, oh my god, the first 3 sentences, yes, like, just so visually and well written, so good. But I am sad to see that, Anthony Hopkins probably won't return in that role since he's now dead. I did enjoy that casting. So, guys, anything else you want to talk about Westworld before we wrap up?
I hope Westworld season 2 is better than Iron Fist.
I knew you were going to go there. You know what? After it premieres and I finally get to see it, we will. I'll get you back on and I'll let you rail on some Iron Fist. I know you said the reviews are pretty bad so far, so
yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for coming on. Guys, thank you for hanging out and enjoying the DLC, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of